Hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Lizzie, and for today's video, we are continuing on with watching the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. We are, of course, now on Nightmare on Elm Street 2. If you did not check out my previous review for the first one, make sure that you check that out. I'm going to be doing the entire franchise, so just a spoiler warning for any of the films. I'm going to be talking about details, so I'm sure the majority of you have seen these films, but if you haven't, just fair warning. Definitely some of these I'm going to be kind of rewatching, and I'm pretty sure there's some that I'm going to be watching for the first time. So this is one of those that I'm going to be rewatching. It has been a while since I've watched the second one. I know there's some kind of controversy when it comes to this one, and the subtext, whether intentional or not. If you have not seen Scream Queen My Nightmare on Elm Street, it is a documentary on Shudder that talks about this film and interviews the lead actor for this one, and kind of all that he went through with this film, and I highly suggest checking it out. I think it's very interesting, very informal. I did do a review for that up on my Patreon, so if you join, you can see that. But anyway, yeah, we're gonna be rewatching this one, and I'm gonna be letting you know my thoughts on it. So I'm about to go watch it, and I will be right back.
Someone is coming back to Elm Street.
It started to happen again. Dad! I'm in trouble. You've had some scary dreams, okay? Help!
Daddy can't help you now.
A Nightmare on Elm Street, Part 2.
You are all my children now.
Freddy's Revenge.
Okay, so I just finished with watching Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Revenge, and I still enjoyed this film. It was definitely a good time. It's a very interesting sequel because it takes a bit of a different route than I feel like majority of sequels do, where we are no longer following Nancy. She has nothing to do with this film, which is a little bit odd because of just the way that the first one ends. Nancy and her friends drove off in this Freddy themed car, and we don't really know exactly what happens to them at the end, and so whenever a sequel kind of comes about, you kind of expect that it's going to continue that story, and this one doesn't really do that. Now, this one is set 5 years in the future, and we're focused on this character of Jesse. I had actually forgotten this very important detail, but he has moved into Nancy's house. They are the first family to move in the house since the events, and we do, through Jesse, end up kind of finding out what happened and what people believe happened. One of his friends, Grady, who actually kind of starts out like his enemy, they kind of become frenemies sort of, is the one that ends up telling Jesse that his house was a crime scene, and that the town sort of believes that Nancy just went crazy. She watched her boyfriend get slaughtered from across the street, and it's believed that her mother killed herself, and that all of these combined things drove Nancy crazy. Now, we obviously don't really know where Nancy's at and what's going on with that, and I don't know if that's something that we find out later on, but yeah, we do get some little details about the kind of town theories or beliefs of what happened in the first film. So, like I said in the start of the video, there is some definite controversy when it comes to this film, and I mentioned the documentary on it, which again, highly suggest checking out. So this film has been kind of quoted as being a queer horror, and praised as such, which there is a lot of subtext in this film, and I'm not gonna dive kind of into all of that just because that's not really what I do on my channel. If you don't know already, I am a part of the LGBT community. I have my little Bi Pride flag right there. So it's definitely interesting to watch this film from kind of the point of view of someone who's part of the community, and rewatching it, having watched that documentary as well, and knowing kind of some of what the actor that played Jesse went through with filming this and after, and the fact that, if you don't know, I'll get a little bit into it, but if you don't know, after this film came out and people were like, oh, this is like a queer film and there's a lot of subtext and, you know, kind of implying that this is a coming out film, this idea that Jesse's fight with Freddy is kind of a mirroring of somebody who is in the closet dealing with those things as a teenager. And again, that subtext is most definitely there. And when the film came out and people were saying all those things, the writer of the film kind of tried to imply that it was not done on purpose and that it was the actor that plays Jesse, Mark Patton's fault because of the fact that he is gay in real life. And I think since, and this is all stuff that they cover in the documentary, but he has had since tried to then kind of take claim once it was seen as like a good thing that this film was that way, that tried to kind of backpedal and take claim on it. So that's a little gross. I think that directorially he purposefully made some of those decisions, and even Robert Englund talked in the documentary about the fact that some of those decisions and even decisions he made in playing against Mark were done on purpose. So, you know, it's always up to your own interpretation, who you want to believe, how you want to feel about it. So there's definitely some negativity tied to this film, but I generally really enjoyed it and liked the way that it was done. I liked the changes that were done in this film, and it, you know, the subtext and all those things don't really necessarily bother me. I think some of the stuff implying, like the BDSM stuff implying that that's just queer culture, which was obviously very much stated back when this film came out, but obviously that is not true. Straight people do that as well, so of course that's a little, and I definitely think, like, it'd be interesting in this, if this film came out today, because I think Jesse's character, even though Mark is gay, I think Jesse's character could easily be bisexual or pansexual, or whatever, because obviously he has this girlfriend, this relationship in the film with a woman, and then of course there's kind of subtext between like him and the Grady character as well. But moving on past all of that, I did like the kind of changes that they made in this film, the fact that the way Freddy comes into this world is different. So obviously there's still the dream world, and Jesse, it starts out with Jesse having these dreams, and that's how Freddy is able to contact him and kind of makes this decision that he is going to use, instead of tormenting Jesse, he's going to use Jesse to seek revenge on other people, which in the context of this film, it's more like Jesse's revenge, even though he doesn't want to be doing these things. And Freddy's just killing for the sake of killing, where in the first film, obviously, Freddy's going after the children of the people that are responsible for his death. This one kind of skips past all that, and Freddy's just killing to kill. And you could even say that he's killing in defense of Jesse, kind of like, you know, in the new Chucky series, how that kind of happens, but I feel like he's just killing for the sake of killing and using Jesse to do so. He's able to go into Jesse's body, and Jesse even becomes Freddy to wreak havoc and kill people. And I like that. I think it's very interesting, and obviously all of that, again, continues to imply subtext throughout the film. And obviously it's also interesting that we have a final guy instead of a final girl. Now, we do actually kind of have both in this film, because Jesse's quote-unquote girlfriend or just friend. Lisa, she takes kind of control in the last act of this film, and when Jesse's completely gone, he's now Freddy, and she has to be the one to defeat him and take over. She becomes like a final girl. So I like the fact that you have both of those in this film. I loved her. I thought she was totally badass. I love the fact that she's really supportive of Jesse throughout this entire thing, and the fact that she thinks of it more as like a psychic ability. She doesn't try to discredit Jesse and what's going on in his experiences. She believes him and that he's feeling some sort of connection, but she thinks of it as a psychic connection, and I loved that because that's totally what I would do. But one thing I wasn't too much of a fan of that they kind of do to her character, again with the subtext in this film, is implying kind of that if she, in that kind of last act when she's fighting Freddy and trying to like get to Jesse, it's implied that basically if she loves him hard enough, she keeps telling him she loves him and keeps talking to him, that she can pull him out of this. And obviously if Freddy and him being inside Jesse is supposed to represent this idea of Jesse fighting with being gay, it's implying that her as a woman loving him hard enough will fix that. But obviously by the end of the film we figure out that that's not true because Freddy's not dead. And they end the film same way that it opens, which I think is really cool, with the bus flying off into the desert. So the film opens. I love that opening scene. I think it's really cool. I don't think it's as good as the opening scene in the first one, but the fact that it opens and ends the same is really cool. And of course, it leads us on to being able to do another sequel, which of course we do. 8 more fucking films. Well, probably more than that. Anyway, we're gonna cover them all in this series, but generally, I really enjoy this film. I think it's a really good sequel, and you know, kind of all the controversy aside of this film, it's really enjoyable. Let me know what your thoughts are on this film. Even if it's just as far as it being a sequel, let me know what you think of it. Let me know what your favorite Nightmare on Elm Street film is. If you did enjoy this, please do give it a big old thumbs up and make sure that you hit the subscribe button for more horror-related content. Before I go, a quick shout out to my patrons. Thank you guys so much for helping to contribute to the channel. If you know the perks to being a Patreon, links are in the description below, along with all of my social media, and I will see you all again later with another video. Bye!